Year 12s, we're starting on our new topic, so skill acquisition. So we'll start off with how this skill is actually acquired. So we're split into 4 different topics, and then we'll gradually release all those different concepts so you can learn them as we go. So we're looking at the definition and description of learning styles. So what are these learning styles, and where do we find them? So there's 3 key learning styles. So we have our auditory learners, we have our kinesthetic learners, and we have our visual learners. And you probably should have touched on those in your PLP. But, in brief, auditory learners learn mostly by listening, kinesthetic by doing, and visual by seeing. So there's our behaviours for those different learning styles. We'll go through all of them. If you want to pause and read, that would be beneficial. All right, so the learning styles. A good coach will provide a stimulating learning environment that promotes fun while also catering for the needs of the visual learner by giving demonstrations, providing keywords to highlight the fundamental concepts of a skill to be worked via auditory means. Then allow time to physically practice the skills so the visual and verbal components can be acted upon. So what you need to do here is pause, look at pages 180, 180, 182, there's a couple of questions, and then we can get back to the clip. So the classification of skills. So how is a skill defined? What are the categories and what are the examples of those skills in a sport or activity? So the classification of skills is important because there's a large range of sporting activities each requiring those set of skills. So they may have different characteristics that can change in different situations, which makes them difficult. So we have the precision of movement involved in skill execution, so the fine versus gross motor skills. We have a distinct phase of movement, so we have a discrete, serial and continuous skills, and we have the stability and the predictability of the environment, so the open versus closed. Now what we can do is we use a continuum to look at what is more gross and what is more fine. So in essence, gross motor skills have to do with the large muscle groups, which are not very precise and include fundamental movement patterns. So things such as walking, running, jumping. So a shot put is an example of a primarily gross skill. Again, we can look at them on a continuum. So a fine skill involves intricate, precise movements using small muscle groups and generally involve higher levels of hand-eye coordination. So a snooker shot or playing the piano or throwing darts, those are the differences. So look at the difference in a rugby tackle. So a rugby tackle involves large muscle groups and a dart throw requires small amount of muscle groups. Here we have a continuum down the bottom, open and closed, and then we can try and put different skills on them. So open skills are looking at the environment is constantly changing, so it's unpredictable, involving opposition pressure, impacting on shot selection or decision making, and causing the environment to be unpredictable. So weather as well, where closed skills are where things can be very predictable, very controlled, very stable, so the performer knows exactly what to do. So an open skill might be surfing, where you've got to deal with the weather, the wind, the waves, all those impacts, or taking a contested mark in AFL, where you've got to deal with pressure, wind, sunlight, somebody else kicking you the ball, where you throwing a dart into a dartboard, you control the pace. There's no external influences, it's just you performing the skill under your own time and effort. So we have an example down the bottom. Classify the following skills according to open or closed by placing a number on the continuum. So we have boxing being very open, surfing being very open, badminton serve being quite closed, and 10-pin bowling where you control the pace internally, where externally surfing and boxing you're against an opponent which is unpredictable. Alright, we won't go through that. So how a skill is acquired. So we have discrete, serial and continuous skills. So we're looking at movement patterns. So discrete skills have a defined beginning and end. So they're brief, so they're single specific skills which make up the actions involved in a variety of sports. So hockey, a penalty flick, has a distinct beginning where you drag the ball and then you release the ball into the goal. A serial skill is a group of discrete skills strung together to make a new and complex movement. So it might be running, bouncing, jumping. So shooting a layup in basketball where you might have bounced before, or dribbling the hockey ball before you shoot at goal, or receiving a football, taking a bounce and then kicking onto a next opponent. So that's a serial skill. So a continuous skill have no obvious beginning or end. So it could be cycling, where you're continually rolling over movements over the crank, or running, or rowing, or dribbling a basketball over a long period of time, or something like that. So describe how 3 or more of the following skills can be sequenced in a manner that makes them a serial skill. So soccer, running into the 12-yard box, jumping to head the ball and allowing the ball to land directly in front of you, dribbling the ball to make space, then kicking the ball in the back of the net. So that's an example of how those following individual discrete skills can then be put into a serial skill. Alright, so a simple skill is one that's straightforward, requires little concentration and cognitive ability. A complex skill involves large attention span. So, a junior coach of under-8s who has tremendous success with teaching skills to junior players, begins to coach an under-18. He spends a lot of time with his players on technique and shooting drills, but his team struggles to handle the ball and score points in the game. Why would the under-18 team have trouble controlling possession of the ball? So it could be that the coach is using closed drills at training and best method used to teaching. So again, making sure it's age specific. How could they structure the training differently, incorporate more game-like situations? So when we get to a classification of skill, that would make more sense. All right. So back to the skill classification continuum. So more commonly, skills are categorized under multiple headings, as the nature of the skill is often difficult to label. So continuums are used, and you'll find continuums in your book. So volleyball in white, as a diagram shows, the skill of volleyball serve can be classified using continuums. So we can see here, so it's complete a similar classification exercise for a forearm dig return of serve directly to the setter by placing X on the diagram above to highlight the differences. So we've got here the volleyball serve is more gross because again we're using those bigger muscle groups. The volleyball serve is also more closed because it is internally paced. You are the one who starts the initial sequence of skills, so the volleyballer will serve the ball in their own time, and if it's indoors, it's not going to be affected by wind or environment. Which means it is internally paced, so that individual paces, rather than if you receive the ball, it might be externally paced. And it is a discrete skill, it has a distinct beginning and end. So if we look at where returning the serve, so a volleyball forearm dig, we do get a lot of control with our legs, major muscle groups in our legs, so it makes it a gross skill. Is very much an open skill because we are relying on the fact that an opposition player has served the ball. We cannot control where the ball comes to us. We have to adapt and move to where it's hit to us. Is externally paced because the opposition server decides when the skill is executed, and our skills relied on them. And again, it is a discrete skill. And there's the explanation there if you want to read through. Okay, what you need to do now is pause and complete the questions on pages 183 to 187. What we'll do is that can be at the end of this homework clip, and then we'll continue with the rest of this section tomorrow.